Macross, I play the role of Hikaru Ichijo.
I played Roy Fokker. I know there's a joke there, just let it go.
I play Commander Bruno J. Global.
Roy is the senpai to the hero.
To get the chance to play Hikaru has been a real pleasure.
The first thing I saw was the wavy blonde hair.
He wears a big white hat, big like a white sailor's cap, and a big blue jacket.
I want to put that on.
Unorthodox, a little kooky.
He's a lot of fun. He's
Fighter pilot.
he's a bit bratty.
He's part Italian.
No.
He's Italian, actually.
He's from Dallas.
He's a bit
Bit of a bumbling character.
immature,
Probably a football player,
Unorthodox, a little kooky,
but he's got a great attitude.
and he likes to drink his beer.
which makes him a lot of fun to play.
At first, I didn't want to do it.
I'm not sure how I got this role.
Certain amounts of money I need to drive from Austin to Houston.
It's such an enormous privilege to be a part of something that has had such a huge impact.
And this wasn't it.
Been working with Matt Greenfield and ADV.
And he said, I'll make it worth your while if you'll just come and do this bit part.
When I found out that ADV was doing it and got the opportunity to be cast as Hikaru, I was really excited.
So then I came down and he goes, okay, now here's the real reason why I wanted to bring you down.
And the neatest thing was,
One day walked into to work and
There's this show, and I was like,
somebody was talking about Macross, and
the funny thing about this,
Matt turned around and said, and you're global.
a year earlier,
20 years ago,
What's a global?
living in Houston,
I had met
just got out of high school,
this really sweet girl.
working just a regular schmuck job
I met her at Anime Weekend Atlanta.
on Channel 39.
I didn't know anything about what she did.
There was the show came on called Robotech, and I'm not an anime fan, but
She and I really hit it off because we were both musicians and singers and had a great weekend.
I saw this cartoon and I thought, this is really cool.
I find out a year later,
The story's really good.
ADV is not only doing Macross,
And the thing that I thought of was, boy, I would love to play one of these characters.
but they are hiring the girl who played Minmay in the original series 20 years ago.
I wasn't even thinking about being a voice actor then.
And then I find out the kicker.
20 years later,
It's Mariajima.
I was like,
I was so excited.
20 years later, I get to be Roy Fokker.
I knew her already, and I had no idea.
This is awesome.
I knew nothing about Macross.
I knew that Robotech was huge.
Being someone who liked the show when I was younger,
Certainly that Macross was part of that series.
I was on the wrong side of the curve for the Robotechs.
The original Robotech actually took 3 series and melded them together.
I knew about it, but I wasn't really into it. I didn't, I was,
Rewrote the stories and made it one big story arc, and that's why they changed some of the names. Rick Hunter.
I'm sort of an anomaly, I guess.
There are a lot of fans that really wanted the original story. An American English version of the original Macross.
or an enigma, whatever the word is. I'd watch Johnny Quest over and over and over, and I never got into new shows.
It's a huge honor. It's a huge privilege.
It's almost like going back and being able to redo an old classic, a film classic.
it's really cool to be able to see if we can, with the limitations of the animation and the music and stuff, how we can come back and still make it something viable and interesting to watch.
Unfortunately, I can't give you fortunately, I can't give you some long-winded answer about it.
What I find most enjoyable about the work that I do are the fans.
The chicks, that's my favorite thing,
The most important thing to me is preserving the character.
Actually, it really is the most rewarding thing, because if I would have never gotten into voice acting, I would have never met my wife.
Did he marry her?
I was doing children's theater at the time. She had just done some roles, and I thought it looked pretty cool, and she said, well, if you think you can do it.
After I did my first job, I went, wait a minute, I went to work in jeans and a t-shirt. I didn't have to shave.
10 years later, I've still been doing it all the time, thinking that, this will be my last role. And Matt seemed to see something that he liked, so.
My two passions merged, acting and voice work.
When I go to conventions or I get emails from fans, to me, That's my favorite part.
It's weird because a lot of people, what's the most? It must be the money. No, it's definitely not the money.
I made how much? Wow, I kind of like this.
It's the ability of walking into a booth and having fun with a character.
One thing that I just pray never happens is that, you know, Hikaru in episode 13 doesn't sound anything like Hikaru in episodes 1 and 2.
When you're in the studio and you do a line, you deliver it.
People actually were watching what I did and liked what I did.
They loved this show or they loved this character.
People go, wow, how do you do that? I go, well, I just do. It's my job.
It really is a charge to know that people like what you do.
They really enjoyed what you did here, or they were really moved by what happened here.
Recognition from your peers, affirmation from your people that you work with in this business that recognize you as doing something really well. I think that's the greatest reward you could ever ask for.
It seems like the fans know a whole lot about the process by now.
There's, I believe, a misconception with voice acting.
A lot of fans still don't really understand that we record alone.
You're in a booth, there's a microphone.
There are no other characters in the booth.
You know, I go to the conventions and the people pretty much know what's going on.
It's not just walking in the booth and opening your mouth and letting whatever spew forth.
You know, the Japanese do it very differently. They record together as a group, almost like, imagine like a reader's theater, where they would stand in a line and somebody steps up and says their line, and then they step back and somebody steps up and says their line, and they record as an ensemble.
Any really talented actor, when you watch them in the booth, they're not sitting there like this doing their lines. They're animated. They're acting it out, and it's, you have to be careful not to hit the microphone and stuff like that. But they're physicalizing their character, which totally brings it to life on screen, which is so important. And that's why it's exhausting, and you can't sit in a session for 4 hours at a time and do this.
We can't do that.
Because they wear themselves out.
The attention to matching the mouth flaps and the attention to the detail of the reads, it would be impractical to try to record several people at once.
You don't want this to sound like you're just reading words off the script.
There's a little bit of a trickiness to that a lot of fans don't really know.
Because much like the camera can detect if you're faking it, the microphone will pick it up as well.
So when you hear an emotional, heart-wrenching scene between characters and it really sounds like they're talking to each other, that's completely the magic of the process.
I think the most important thing about voice acting is about any acting is that it has to sound like it's coming from here.
Because they're not together. They're not in the same room. And many times they can't even hear each other. Whoever records first doesn't have anybody to play off of.
That's sometimes a very hard bridge for actors to cross.
So that sense of dialogue needs to be created, completely created.
Once you can get across that bridge and make that leap, it's like, the heavens opened up. You're like, oh, I see how this is done. Because it really is. It makes the difference between a great performance, which is believable, and a performance that is not believable, that just sits there.
I think they'd probably be surprised at how hard it would be to make a solid career out of it.
There's so much luck involved and so much timing.
How much hustling you have to do.
As much as I'd like to believe how wonderful I am, there are plenty of other actors out there who are just as good, probably a lot better than I am.
If you wanted to not only be successful, but make enough money to actually really make money.
When I'm not directing or acting,
I do a lot of other things professionally besides voice acting.
Yard work.
I'm a professional music composer and producer.
I'm sitting around wishing I were.
Well, I've been doing a lot of stuff lately.
I do a lot of shooting and editing. I have a production company of my own.
I like to eat.
My degree is actually in film.
I like to eat a lot.
Yard work.
It's a very simple life I lead.
And I also do a lot of graphic design work.
No. I
I'd like to say I like to exercise, but that's pretty self-evident I don't.
I also am very active at my church.
I love going to shows and seeing a good band that I've never seen before.
I play guitar and
Play the piano and sing and lead the band.
I'm becoming really addicted to Guitar Hero for the PlayStation 2.
I'm married. I have 2 children, with 1 on the way.
And that's a very, very big part, a very important part of my life.
I'm a musician myself, so when I have a chance to play, I like doing that.
I love music. I don't think I could ever just say, okay, I'm just going to be a voice actor.
This is a very crazy business.
My full-time job is doing IT work,
It's all about working when you can because you don't know when you're going to work again.
fixing computers, that kind of thing.
I could never do that to music or video or film or graphic design.
It's a great job to have when your secondary career is voice acting.
There's a lot of tough decisions sometimes to make.
Because I got the steady money and then I can do the other stuff, and I'm not so much at the whim of the director.
I wouldn't just want to be a music composer, producer, or a singer. I love voice acting. I love acting. I love video.
Try to just juggle that lifestyle.
I try my best to juggle all of them and kind of keep all the balls in the air at the same time.
My goal is to get everything, have a restaurant one day where everything comes on a stick.
I'm really happy doing what I'm doing.
I'm really grateful to be able to get the chance to do all of them. And I don't think I could ever give any one of them up, but I love them all.
I just want to just continue enjoying my life and not being stressed out and worrying about if this person likes me or this other one. I just enjoy my life. And if the good role comes up, take it and do my best. Just every time, I just try to do the best job that I can. And just be in the role instead of going, well, what is this going to do for my career? I think that's more important.